Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Albany. My name is Eric Van Housen, and I'll be your service associate today. Today is our Wellspring service. But before we begin, please check to make sure your microphone is muted. You can also turn your camera off if your image is potentially distracting. Please also be mindful of your speech while on Zoom, as microphones can accidentally become unmuted. This will minimize any disruption of our service. You will notice closed captioning at the bottom of your screen. If you'd like to turn that off or on, find the CC option on your Zoom toolbar and select the up arrow to access it. Thank you very much for your cooperation. I have become withdrawn and hesitant in my personal relations. Where normally I would bold and sometimes brashly engage people socially, I now steer away. Behavioral psychologists say that after 90 days, a behavior becomes a habit and a regular part of your life. COVID-19 pushed people apart and encouraged us not to engage. People and relationships became a threat to my health. I felt put upon by customers at work who would get too close. I, like so many people, retreated into a world consisting of my husband, my animals, and Zoom. Thank God for Zoom. I owe myself a reset. I need the intimacy of conversation. Wellspring, to me, represents one of the most intimate disciplines, deep listening. During my first sources group, my maternal grandfather died, and he was my hero. Upon his death, I learned some dark secrets about my grandfather that had been kept from me all these years. I didn't want sympathy. I didn't want to talk at length about it. I didn't want a hug. I needed to be heard. And that's exactly what my sources group gave me. The deep calm of knowing that I wasn't alone in my grief. Wellspring is not about criticizing, critiquing, agreeing, or even disagreeing with one another's experiences, opinions, or the expressions of our souls. It's about listening to one another, the art of deep listening. Our prelude this morning is Giant Purple Butterflies, a trip through the rainforest by Wynn and Rossi. Musician is Elena Karpov. Please join us in the chalice lighting. Words will be shown on the screen. Welcoming all free seekers of truth and meaning, we gather to excite the human spirit, to inspire its growth and development, to respond morally and ethically to a troubled world, and to sustain a vital and nurturing religious community. Next is our musical interlude, Wider Circles by Rising Appalachia. This morning is our Wellspring service, and our first presenter will be Alice Sage.
Good morning, everyone, on this beautiful day. My name is Alice, as I said, and I would like to invite you to join Wellspring. First, I want to thank our facilitators in Wellspring that I was so grateful to have, and that's Karen Kaufman and Ashley Keegan. I want to say they had outstanding leadership, truly, and knowledge and talent in facilitating Wellspring. I would like to share with you what these sessions meant to me. One of Karen's sayings, which touched me, was to heal the world. And as we all, to bring love, healing, and understanding to our troubled world. And that really touched me. So that, for me, was the theme of Wellspring for me. And everything I studied helped that. Being a new member in UU, I've only been in UU for 3 years and grateful for that too. I found lasting friendships in my group. My interactions with the members in my group afforded me the opportunity of deep listening, extensive learning. We read so many wonderful things, and also genuine caring, not only for the world, but for each other. As we discussed each topic, we were in an environment where all of us felt safe and we could express our feelings and our ideas openly. The curriculum in Wellspring lends itself to that. It certainly broadened my outlook, especially and very much so in social justice, religious knowledge, and spiritual growth. I know that was true for all members. As we studied these topics, it was truly amazing to me how a feeling of trust, kindness, and respect permeated our group. Today, I have so much gratitude in my life for these caring friendships in Wellspring. I dearly hope you will accept my invitation to join Wellspring. I'm sure you will welcome spirited conversations, different perspectives, spiritual growth, and yes, most of all, true friendships. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. We are going to do a yoga dance meditation this morning. And the topic of the song is gratitude. And we chose this song because gratitude is a fundamental value of the Wellspring program. Every time we meet, we have a chance to say to each other what we are thankful for. So I'd like you to join me in the dance today. Just to let you know, I have my arm in a cast from a bone bruise. I'm still dancing. And I will coach you through the movement. I am standing, but you can remain seated if you choose whatever it is that works for you. So let's dance. Thank you, friends. Thank you, family. And we're going to follow our dance with a silent meditation. There will be sound and video during the meditation if you'd like to watch it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Karen Kaufman, and I've been joyfully participating in Wellspring for many years, both as a participant and facilitator. It's been a deeply rewarding and enriching experience, and I would love to share it with more of our congregation. So I'm really happy to tell you that this fall we're offering, and I'll be co-facilitating, the Sources program, which is the foundational Wellspring curriculum and a prerequisite for participation in the other Wellspring programs. The Sources curriculum revolves around the 6 sources that Unitarian Universalism draws on for religious knowledge and spiritual growth. In case you forgot, the 6 sources are direct experience, prophetic women and men, world, Jewish and Christian teachings, humanist teachings, and earth-centered traditions. For each source, participants will cycle through material that explores UU history and theology, practical implications for a meaningful life, and spiritual struggles and questions. The deep exploration of these rich wellsprings of theological knowledge and spiritual inspiration makes sources my very favorite Wellspring curriculum. I think it will change your life as it has changed mine. I hope you'll join us for more information and discussion of the Wellspring program after this service, and consider joining us this fall. This past year, we conducted one of the advanced Wellspring programs called Faithful Actions. This curriculum asks the question, how does our faith call us to act in the world, and explores how we live out our faith in service. It had two specific requirements for each participant. The first was to embark on an intentional service project. And the second was to identify and present on a person who inspires through social action grounded in faith. We're happy to share with you Elizabeth Barbarian's description of her service project and Ashley Keegan's story of a very inspirational person.
Greetings, everyone. I'm delighted to be here to talk to you about my Faith in Action project. Participants are asked to choose a project that complements and enriches the course content. Mindful of the immense stress faced by students and teachers during the pandemic, I set my sights on working with children in an inner city school. Albany didn't allow any volunteers last year due to COVID restrictions. Therefore, I chose the Reading is Fun program out of Schenectady. This program enlists volunteers to work one-on-one with elementary age students to improve their reading skills and foster their love of reading. In non-pandemic times, tutors meet in person at the school with their students. This past school year, all our meetings were virtually. Volunteers select books provided by the program monthly at a makeshift library at a Schenectady church. These books and others that we purchased were shared with the children on weekly Google Meet sessions. We also dropped these books off at the school for our students so they could build their home libraries. I was matched with a first grade teacher at Van Corlear Elementary School. She herself was teaching virtually 26 children, a combination of in-school and at-home learners with reading levels from pre-K to third grade. She matched me with 3 children of varying reading levels. Within weeks, one moved to Ohio and the other, continuously absent from school, proved totally inaccessible. My steady and stellar student was 6-year-old Cheriel. When we met via the computer, he was completing his last weeks of at-home learning. His learning environment was chaotic at best. He attended school in his bedroom, where he and his 3 siblings hung out with no apparent adult supervision. His 8-year-old sister insisted on participating in our sessions, despite Cheriel's teacher's repeated pleas for her to get into her own classroom. Their twin 1-year-old brothers crawled in and out of the bedroom, over him, under him, on top of him, until Cheriel took to retreating under his bunk bed with his tablet for privacy. After several weeks, Cheriel returned to school. That environment was also distracting, with multiple noisy activities going on simultaneously in his space. These distractions made it challenging for both of us to focus, and technology sometimes failed us. However, despite these obstacles, he put his nose to the grindstone and, amazingly for such a young child, did an amazing job of concentrating on the task at hand. As we met week to week, the extent of his commitment became clear and delighted me. I was inspired by his eagerness to learn in the most challenging of circumstances. His reading skill set improved markedly, enhanced also by school personnel and even by his sister, who read with him all the books I had given him, kind of a 2-for-1 deal. I was touched by our developing bond. His teacher told me that he would ask repeatedly when his next session with me would be. I found myself thinking about him often as well and enjoyed scouting out books whenever I passed a bookstore. I too eagerly looked forward to our weekly sessions, a perfect pandemic antidote. Surprisingly, despite his love of stories about action figures, the book that elicited his most enthusiastic response was about family diversity. During our reading of that book, he confided that he had a third baby brother who lived with another family and that his family would be moving to the Dominican Republic at the end of the school year. Although bilingual, he expressed concern about succeeding in his new Spanish language school. In early June, I delivered a last package for him to the school with books for summer reading and included notes to him and his parents, as well as a family pass to Huck Finn's Playland, this being his one bucket list item before he left New York State as a going away gift.
Oh.
The office administrator, who I'd grown to know, greeted me at the door. She knew him well, and we chatted about what a delightful, hard-working boy he is. As I turned to leave, I wistfully, offhandedly mentioned to her how sad I was that the pandemic had prevented me from actually meeting him. She was right on top of it. In a spontaneous act of kindness, she said to me, "Do you want to meet him? I can go get him. Do you want me to? We just relaxed our policies to allow outdoor mass activities." I was totally startled by that offer. Moments later, a beautiful boy came out the front door of the school, a child very slight in stature with his arms fully outstretched. Without a word, he walked towards me and wrapped his arms tightly around my waist, engulfing me in a huge hug. This enthusiastic greeting brought me to tears. What a special moment. In the few brief seconds we had together, I complimented him on his reading improvement, his hard work, told him how proud I was of him, that I would miss him, and wished him well in his new home. Then he gave me one more hug and was gone. My relationship with this determined, spirited, pint-sized 6-year-old brought me incredible joy and fulfillment. I am grateful to the Wellspring program for inspiring me to meet my retirement goal of working with young students. As is true with most volunteer work, I received so much more than I gave. And if anyone is interested in volunteering for this program next year, please let me know. They're looking for volunteers, and I will be happy to connect you with the program administrators. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ashley Keegan, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience in the Faithful Actions Wellspring program. Faithful Actions program is designed to help us think about our values and think about how we put those values into action, how we can offer service, and the range of ways that offering service can take shape. I thought the curriculum was very timely, not only on a global and domestic level, but also for our own congregation. And it really helped me to focus and kind of streamline a lot of the things that I've been thinking about and things that I've been working on. So one of the pieces of the curriculum and the program is to do a presentation on an inspirational person. So every member of the Faithful Actions group will choose a inspirational person and answer some questions about that person. Questions like who they are and what did they do, what communities and spiritual traditions are they grounded in, And did their spirituality bring them to service, or did their service bring them to spirituality? Our group had a range of inspirational people, from religious leaders to bosses, mentors, friends, some names you might know like Jesus, and other names you might not, like Addie Wyatt. Addie Wyatt is the inspirational person that I presented on. And the reason that I presented on her was I actually didn't even know her name before I took the Faithful Actions program. And during the week on the social gospel, I was really shocked that there were not more women discussed in the readings. And I just couldn't believe that there were no women involved in the social gospel movement as leaders and as people who pushed that movement forward. And so I did a little cursory search and a little shallow digging, and stumbled upon Addie Wyatt, who was a leader in the social gospel movement, as well as the labor movement, the women's rights movement, and the civil rights movement. So I want to just tell you a little bit about her, because I found her to be incredibly inspiring, and I think it's a shame that we don't know her name and speak her name more often. So Addie Wyatt was born in 1924. She was born in Mississippi, and she made her way to Chicago. She became a leader in the meat cutters and butchers union in 1941. And the way that she came to be in this union is she actually went to the factory to get a job as a typist, and she sat there all day watching all these white women go in and get these jobs, and she was never called in to interview because she was a woman of color. And so she went to the floor of the meat packing factory and realized that she actually made a lot more money doing that than being a typist. And she was able to join the union. And from there, just kind of took off. She became the first president of her local union. She was the first woman to do this. And unsurprisingly, men did not want her in that position, but it certainly did not stop her. She encountered that over and over again. She started a church with her husband. It started in their garage and grew to 1,000 people. She worked with civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and Eleanor Roosevelt. She marched on Washington. She marched from Selma to Montgomery. She was on a committee of the Commission on the Status of Women in the 1960s. In 1975, she was Times Woman of the Year. She was also a founding member of the National Organization of Women. So again, the fact that we don't speak her name with that kind of resume of accomplishments, I'm happy to talk to you about her today. What touched me about her faithful actions was twofold. The first was it was so rooted in her faith. Her faith, without a doubt, brought her to service and to actions. She deeply believed in the interconnectedness of all of us, and the idea that we all can move towards that connectiveness and work towards it. I also found her patience to be really, really inspiring. There was a story in the biography that I read about her where she was trying to organize workers in a factory, and she was standing outside handing out leaflets and giving information, and the workers were spitting on her because they did not they weren't interested in joining a union, and certainly weren't interested in a woman of color asking them to join a union. And when the factory voted to in favor of a union and to get workers' rights and protections, Addie Wyatt was at a meeting, and the same people who had spit on her stood up and cheered for her, and she took it in stride. And I have reflected many times on her patience and her fortitude, and often wondered if I would have the same kind of characteristics, and certainly she offered me something to aspire to. So Addie Wyatt was really a wonderful and powerful force. She cared about children. She held on to her femininity and used that as this quiet power and strength when oftentimes it might not have been appreciated as such. And she really just made so many powerful statements and movements, and was able to bring workers and women and people of color together in a very, very quiet way. And one of the biggest takeaways for me is that we know names like Martin Luther King Jr. and John Lewis, and we don't know names like Addie Wyatt. And I think it's important, certainly important for me, and why I wanted to talk to you about her today, is to lift her name up and to take her life and her spirituality and her faith and her characteristics of patience and love and interconnectedness, and allow that to inspire us. It certainly inspired me. And so, yeah, don't forget the name Addie Wyatt, and have a lovely morning. Thanks.
An important way we celebrate life each Sunday is by offering an opportunity to practice generosity. Members and friends support our congregation with an annual pledge paid throughout the year. Another way is to support the good work of this congregation is by making a generous contribution via one of the options shown on this slide. You can click the tiny URL link in the chat window to contribute, or you can send a text to the number shown on the screen. The examples on the slide show how to label your text to indicate the amount and the purpose or intent of your gift. Our offertory piece today is the 23rd Psalm by Bobby McFerrin's Vocabularies, featuring SLIXS and friends. We enjoy welcoming guests and visitors to our service. If you are a guest or a visitor and would like to tell us who you are or where you're from, you can click the raise hand symbol. Depending on your Zoom version, you will find the raise hand option either in the participant window or in the reactions button on your Zoom toolbar. Our technician will invite you to unmute and introduce yourself. You may also, or instead, click on the visitor link you'll find now in the chat window.
Eric, nobody has stepped forward for introduction, so we can move on.
Thank you and welcome to all who have joined us today. If you'd like to learn more about our congregation or Unitarian Universalism, you can find in the participant window someone with welcome before their name. You can reach out to that person privately in the chat window now or after the service.
Yes. So this is a poem by Dana Fowles called Embrace the World. May light be born anew in me and you. May peace reign within our hearts and gratitude frame our days with gladness and joy. May each one of us awaken to the truth and allow the universe to use us, hearts and hands, minds and prayers, united to embrace this world.
As we extinguish the chalice, please join in the words shown on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. One of the books that we read in Wellspring is called Everyday Spiritual Practice. And upon my first reading, I've read it 3 times now, the chapter called The Middle Way by Michael Schuler stopped me dead in my tracks and has haunted me ever since. I'm going to quote from him. I know of no shortcuts, no alternative curriculum. Achievement in spirituality, as in science, athletics, or the arts, requires clear focus and steady application. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh makes the point much more eloquently when he says, the miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth in this present moment, to appreciate the peace and beauty that are available now. It is not a matter of faith, it's a matter of practice. Our thanks today, musician Elena Karpov, ushers Tammy Hathaway, Sharon Babila, pastoral care associates Randy Rosette and Phil Rich, service associate Eric Von Hausen, welcomer Peter Brown. Office support was Tammy Hathaway, Patience Bichette. Our technical support was Chris Jensen.